Don't matter. I do feel blessed as a farmer to have a nice rain this week. We certainly needed it. Did get my attention, though, when I heard there was maybe a tornado cloud in Webster, and I'm thinking, maybe I need to pay attention to what's going on. We are going to hear from Joe Jorgensen today and Bill Campfield from the response team, and I think we all have some good news to share. And I'm going to start off with a little update. Carrie Tuma, our office manager, is happy to be back in the office again. She returned to work this past Monday. She had surgery and needed about 3 weeks off for rest and recovery. And I'm glad that Karen is in attendance today because I wanted to thank her for filling in. I can call her kind of the guest office manager. I'm not sure if some of you watch Old Carson or Saturday Night Live. People come up and say, well, I've hosted SNL 5 times, or I've been on the Carson show being a guest host. Well, Karen certainly fills that void for us. I don't know how many times you've done it, but thanks a lot, Karen. So also, we had our staff took turns this week. Pastor John, Dr. Matt, and Joe all filled in to try to keep the office running. And also Lisa Schultz, who is with us here today. She's our new treasurer. And I want to have her come up and just introduce herself if you don't mind. I did give a pre-up so that it's not on, I'm not bringing you up cold turkey. So come on up here. Lisa and I have been working together for 4 months and 6 meetings, and this is the only second time that we've seen each other in person.
I know. Good morning. Boy, this is such a joyous occasion. I can't tell you. This is the first time that I've been in a service in over a year, and it's just magnificent to be back in person. I just can't tell you the joy that I feel right now. My name is Lisa Schultz, and I live in Lakeville, and I have just a background I work at the United Methodist Conference, so we head up all of the United Methodist churches in our conference in Minneapolis, and I work there as a controller and a database manager. And as my life has kind of come into this work for God, I have this huge passion for churches and their finances. And I feel that God has led me here to help with the need that was needed to be filled, and I am just so filled with joy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, Lisa does provide us a nice dimension in our council meetings, and we have a good time laughing. We can kind of crack jokes and trying to make council an enjoyable thing to participate in. So thank you for coming today and being part of our church. So the first slide is our budget update, and it covers kind of the month of April and year-to-date for the first quarter. If you kind of follow the columns and numbers, we are kind of on track with income and expenses for either month of April or for the year-to-date. The actual giving year-to-date is a little higher than last year, but it's real close to previous years of 2019 and 2018. But I do want to bring up a couple things on that slide. First, you might notice that on the top column, there's offering revenues, and rent is listed at second. And so we had $5,100 and $5,107 this year, and maybe only last year of $1,000. And I'm pretty sure that coincides with the ag land rent the payment probably was included in the April report this year and not reported in the April report last year. So that's where that difference would be. And then if you go down a little bit to the subtotal of staff expenses, when I was preparing for today's meeting, I was thinking, wow, that $30,763 compared to $22,000, that seems kind of a big jump. And so Lisa and I had a little walk through the other night to kind of make sure it was, and really what contributed to it was less custodial wages and a payment to the Portico group, which handles our benefit package for our church. So that got paid in May. So it will show up if we had the May column there, it would show up higher in May than it was supposed to. Therefore, it shows up lower in April for us. So I wanted to make sure that I understood what was going on. But if you go down to the bottom column, the numbers are fairly close. And obviously the last year of the $12,000 would be reduced if that payment was included in there. I can move on to the second slide, which is just a little more itemizing of some of the revenues and expenses that we get as a church. And we have been trying to isolate the general giving a little more, from other income sources. So we could do a little better tracking of that. And all in all, our church is good financial standing for the first quarter, and we appreciate the giving that you do, and we're trying to be responsible as a church. I think that's all I would have on the budgeting. We are, like I said, a financially stable, and I do know that from many of you, you've probably have increased your giving in the past years to compensate and keep these numbers good. Our next slide should be capital expenditures. I didn't bring my Mountain Dew up here. I'm getting thirsty. The property committee, led by Brad Smith and Jeannie Nash as secretary, Dave Moline and Scott Temple, are looking at some new heating and air conditioning units for our church. Right now, the Heritage Room has no air conditioning in it, and the social hall, the heating and air conditioning unit, has the heating part is now emitting high levels of carbon dioxide, so we don't use that as well. And so we need to update these HVAC units to be more efficient, and we would like to provide better air quality and circulation in the new ones. And hopefully they'll operate at a lower cost of operation. Before COVID, a group of members met to form a committee that would look at the sanctuary refresh. Some of the items and areas of concern were on our altar flooring. We have some carpeting that is rippling. We want to look at that. We'd also like to look at maybe the pews. I know the sliding doors that separate the sanctuary from the social hall are getting old. They're hard to push. We should look at lighting issues, and we should look at decorating ideas that we might want to make this sanctuary have a little bit newer look. And Cheryl Moan and Barb Bachman are going to kind of be co-chairs to this, and they're actually going to plan to meet this coming Tuesday and regroup once they did after they took off for COVID. And when we get a plan of the HVAC and the church refresh updates, I think I'll probably come back in front of the congregation with kind of a cost or a plan or phases of how to make these improvements, and the options that we could use moving forward to pay for these would be memorial money. We have a little money in savings, a foundation request, and we could also have a capital campaign once we know what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. Lastly, I would like to cover the ministry team vacancies. Pastor John mentioned it a little bit at the end of his service, but our membership team, certainly we don't really have a team currently. We usually like to have 3 or 4 members beyond each team, and we would like to get these teams filled again so that the work is spread around for everybody, and it would be a benefit to all of us as a congregation. I know that Joel Ruin and Lori Clausen from Stewardship would like to have somebody extra. Maybe you could at least have a group to play cards, a four-hand or something. So it's good to have that. The congregational life that will kind of take care of the preparation for coffee and donuts and other things, would certainly enjoy some new members, as would CYF, and especially looking for maybe someone from the youth to be part of their group. I know that COVID is getting a little more manageable, and maybe some of you would feel comfortable joining and being part of a ministry team. And anybody would say, can I help? I'm interested. Would be great. And the members that are on these teams would appreciate that as well. And I think by closing up my little part, I did drive by the church yesterday, and I saw the mission garden was getting planted. And when you leave today, take a look. It looks pretty good. With that, I'll have Joe Jorgensen come up. Thank you.
So I thought I would just share a quick rundown of kind of a recap of the last year, as crazy as it has been. With Sunday school, we started the year with in-person, and by November, I think it was, we shifted to online only, which is kind of a weird thing. And we kind of continued, once we got into spring, we offered in-person again, as well as continuing to offer the online. I think we averaged probably 8 students coming in person over the course of the year. And for the online participation, based on YouTube views, is roughly six views a week. So not overwhelming attendance, but it's been a weird year. So I think we can have a little grace with those numbers. We're looking forward to a return to some sort of normal, hopefully in the fall. With confirmation, we offered a hybrid model in the fall, trying to do Zoom along with our in-person. It was weird, it was clunky. We kind of made it work for a while, and then of course we had to shift to fully online, which I want to lift up our confirmation students for sticking with it, because they were on Zoom all day long for regular school, and then to jump on for another half hour to an hour of confirmation it was a lot to ask, and so it says a lot for their resilience and just sticking with it. I want to say a special thanks to Tia Burnham, Becky Ruin, and Paula Anderson, who helped teach confirmation this year through all of the ups and downs and weird intricacies of this year. I should also say thanks to Jackie Dulac and Lisa Smith for helping with Sunday school, and Alyssa for helping with Sunday school and keeping that running in its many forms this year. Vacation Bible School, we got that coming up. So this is hope on the horizon. We have 25 registered for Vacation Bible School so far. We're going to try to cap it in the mid-30s just to keep it manageable. But we're looking forward to that. We're going to try to do it outside as much as possible, take advantage of the nice weather, but we'll move inside if we need to. But I think that'll be good. We could use some helpers with that, a few adults to help teach like the Bible lessons and run the crafts and those type of things. So if you are free the week of June 21st, it's Monday through Thursday, so the 21st through the 24th, and want to come hang out with the kids for a little bit, please let me know. I'd love to have you on board to help out. And then mission trip. We are super excited. We get to go to Waco, Texas. We're going to leave here on July 9th. We've got a group of 16, so 12 youth, 4 adults. So in addition to myself, we have Tim Emmons, we have Abby Emmons, and then Alyssa Jorgensen. Those are going to be my other 3 adult chaperones for that trip. So we're looking forward to that. Getting out of the state. For many of us, it's the first time, out of the state in a year. So we're looking forward to that. And that'll be through YouthWorks, as we've done the last several years. And then just a general note about looking ahead. As disruptive as this past year has been, I'm choosing to also see it as opportunity to shake things up and maybe find some new direction, new ways of doing things. For example, this past fall, we held our affirmation of baptism service for our confirmation students. Typically, that's a spring event, but due to the uncertainty of last spring, we pushed it to the fall. It kind of worked okay, and we kind of liked it, and we still didn't know exactly how the end of this school year was going to go, so we said, let's push it to the fall one more time. So we're going to do, our current 9th graders will be confirmed again on Reformation Sunday next fall. And we're kind of wondering, maybe that'll stick. So that's one of those ideas that we're playing with. Is this an opportunity to shift the affirmation of baptism service? We're also looking at our online learning options. Is there a continued need or desire to continue doing the online lessons for confirmation and Sunday school? Maybe that makes it accessible for some who can't be here on Wednesday nights, for example. So we're looking at those opportunities. And we're just praying that as we begin to kind of find our new normal, that God will give us a big imagination, that we don't necessarily fall back into just the traditional way of how things have always been, but to look for new ways that we can connect and reconnect with the people of our congregation and the greater community, just really looking for those opportunities. So I think that's all I got. So, thanks.
Thanks, Joe. You do a good job at juggling many different roles at our church, especially through this last COVID session. So the next presenter is Bill Canfield, and he's vice president of our church council and a chair of the reopening team. And he's been helps me get through all my stuff printed. I got to have a computer IT guy to manage my job, so my wife helps me too, but I gotta have support.
Good morning, everybody. I cannot wait until the time that we don't have to talk about COVID. But alas, this is where we're at. So paraphrasing the Grateful Dead, it's been a long, strange trip. And I'm not quite sure that it's over yet. So what I'd like to do this morning is I'd like to talk everybody through the COVID reopening team and how we operate. So as the situation continues to evolve, everybody will understand how this advisory team makes recommendations to the council, to the pastor, and to the staff, to the ministries, to the volunteers, and of course us, 800 plus members of Christiania. So, there's been a lot of moving parts, right? We've, have to put my glasses on here. There's been so much uncertainty, there's been so much apprehension. We really needed a framework to help us guide through really the health, the safety, the welfare of our congregation. So much at stake, to leverage both faith and science in a way that we could allow to navigate the entire church. So let's be clear, the church is kind of complex, right? So we're a community of individuals, right? And this considers all of our teams, our groups, our ministries, within communities of individuals, right? So Scott County, Dakota County, our cities, the state of Minnesota. So this framework would guide us through keeping open what we could keep open, reopening what we could when we could, and then to safely stay open comfortably to fulfill our ministries, missions, and outreach. And this work is still going on, and the situation will continue to change. So what I'd like to do is walk us through this framework using the concept of who, of how, and then of what. So the who. So we put together a team of volunteers, and the team has changed over time. Everybody has had some contribution or not. The current team is up there right now. These are people who are actively meeting. I'd also like to call out Carrie and Cliff. They're executing some of the work that the team comes up with as well. And Karen and Lisa and the people who have been kind of filling in for Carrie. And then I wanted to call out Erica as well. So Erica's been maybe the one, certainly the first smiling face that many have seen coming into to church, so we wanted to recognize her role in this as well. And then all of you, right? So everybody had to act a little bit differently during these unusual times, and we want to make sure that, that everybody gets recognized for that. Then we kind of look at the how. So, so the how represents kind of some values, some guiding principles that we've been using to take all this information, to react to the new information, and then to make some recommendations. So the first is that we do in fact value the Minnesota Department of Health, the Stay Safe Minnesota guidelines, CDC as well. And so we use those guidelines to evaluate new information coming in. We also value the guidelines from our school district. It's important for us to watch out for the youth. It's, as we've heard from Joe, it's been very disruptive for our youth. And so we're following guidelines from them as well. If they're online, then we were online. If they were in person, then we'd bring in our Sunday school and our confirmation and our other youth groups in as well. And then the last one is we do value the privileges and obligations of being a community of individuals in a community of individuals. And so this is hard, right? The hard fact is some of these values will not always be in harmony for all of us. Then we move to the what. So the what is, what are the consistent, repeatable checklists or processes that we can take this new information that our team who's there, made up of medical professionals, educators, we've got some property specialists and thoughtful volunteers, how are we going to run this through? So the first thing that we do is we look at, okay, what are the lessons learned from the last service? So the last event that we had, we look at the entire journey from the worshiper, from the time that they registered online, so we have an understanding of what occupancy might be, how they entered the building, how they checked in, how they were sat by ushers, how we did communion, how we did offering. All of those steps we looked at, and we said, okay, what do we need to improve? What worked, what didn't work, and how can we make some changes? The next thing that we do is we talk to the medical professionals and the educators, and we find out, okay, what are the updates? What's new from Minnesota Department of Health? What are we seeing in the school districts? What are those anecdotal things at people's places of business, at the hospitals and the clinics that we should be aware of, and we should bring that in and adopt it to what we're doing. Then we look at property updates. So as mentioned by Bruce earlier, we've got some ventilation issues that we should be considering. So we're looking at what we can do within our property to make sure that we're doing, again, looking after the health, safety, and welfare of all of us. Then we look at CYF, again, from our youth perspective, how are things working out? What can we do? What do we need to do? What decisions, recommendations that we need to move forward so that our children and our youth activities continue to occur? Then we talk about reopening options. So what are the things that we can bring back? Everybody wants coffee hour. Everybody wants things to change. So what are the milestones? What are the things that we need to look at to be able to bring those back online? So we talk through all of those. Then we have an open forum. Sometimes we have some guests who come in who want to share some thoughts and a message, and so we have an open forum. Again, what is it? Are we missing anything? Are we not looking at something from a perspective that we need to do? And then finally, we look at those communications. How do we cascade this discussion back out to everybody? So the ministries, the executive council, all the different groups can understand, okay, what conversations did we have? And so we get that message out to everybody so they can understand, what's going to come next. And quite honestly, the last 2 weeks have been moving really fast, right? Some relaxations occurred, some new guidance from Minnesota Department of Health came out, and we needed to react to that. So this framework allowed us, and continues to allow us, to be proactive in our preparation and then react to new information and feedback by running this information through the lenses of the medical professionals, the educators, and the volunteers. It allows us to bounce that against the MDH guidelines, and then it allows us to assess the impact of that information on all of our ministries, our mission, and our outreach. The results are recommendations that we feel best represent us as a church and our role in the communities. So I hope understanding this framework is kind of helpful as we face what's coming next as a church. And hopefully it encourages everybody to join us so that you feel comfortable. We meet every other Monday at 6:30 p.m. It's on Zoom, so anybody can join. It's not going to be this Monday, but it'll be next Monday. So send out an email to either the church or one of the individuals on the team. We'll send you the Zoom invite, and you can join us as we walk through this framework. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Bill. That's a lot to cover, and it's been a challenging but a learning experience. I think all of us that participate in leadership probably learn something by doing those types of things and trying to make a balancing act for everybody. And so I think that kind of ends our State of the Church. I'll be around after church if somebody wants to ask me a question or a specific topic. I'll be willing to take that. And other than that, I'll have Pastor say a closing prayer, and for the rest of you, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you.
May the Lord be with you. And also with you. Let's pray. God, you have blessed us with a vibrant community of faith, with good leaders and important ministries. Let this day of Pentecost serve you. Let us wait in the discomfort of change and upheaval. Let us trust your presence. Let us get good at knowing where it is you're working and use your empowering for what is next. Amen. Go in peace, serve the Lord. Thanks.